how it is for an artist today to like this whole residency concept. I'm asking you because we're in a place where there are a few residency programs and because there are lots of students here who might go on residencies. I mean, it's a little bit of a weird process, right? Because it's somehow like it takes you out of your life somehow, out of your studio work in a way, and you kind of find yourself in a totally different country or totally different for a limited amount of time. You have to sort of produce, or you have to sort of translate your practice into a different, totally different place with totally different people. And I guess you've done that a few times now, right? In terms of working in...
Well, I'm always unfortunately the one when I get invited to a residency. I'm always the one who says, "Oh, I can only do it for 2 weeks maximum." So I never really go a long time to residency. I did do it when I was a young artist, 15 years ago, good old times. So I went to Rome, for example, for half a year. Yes, and after that I did just projects. I'm always attracted when people invite me and say, "Hey, come here, we give you a structure, we give you help, and you can produce." I like that very much, especially also because I do like to color my whole body of work with an international flair. So that means now I have a photo of the Western Wall in my work. I did works in the East Island, I did works in Africa, I did works in Japan, and I like that to collect more and more works. And residency is often a good way to do that.
And speaking of that, maybe I think also in other works that they're not shown here, but in like say the films, in general, I wanted for a second to talk about this concept of tourism and how it kind of somehow becomes part of the work or somehow becomes part of the attitude of the contemporary artist, right? That travels a lot, that gets to visit places and do work there, to kind of produce his works elsewhere than the studio. And I'm guessing that some artists are like, you know, just eternal tourists somehow.
Right.
So do you think I think that's very contemporary, and I think that it somehow changes art also, or has an effect on the way that art looks or behaves, or the way that artists perceive, you know, their role or even their practice.
Yes.
This kind of lens of tourism. I mean, for example, with the West Wall, it was really funny for me at least, because I've seen Olaf made a sketch of that photograph back in New York, and he showed that to me because he only had an image of the Western Wall, and then when we went to the Western Wall, it didn't become for me like it all became three-dimensional. Like I saw Olaf in front of the West Wall, right? So I had this three-dimensional thing, but I didn't actually feel that the Western Wall became more real. Like for me, it still stayed, you know, kind of an image. And right now, when it's turned again into this wallpaper, then it becomes another form of image somehow, even flatter. So yeah, I guess there's no question mark at the end. But
I react to your...
Yeah.
Now, first I want to say to the tourism aspect. I mean, the beauty today in contemporary art, I guess in general, is there's so many different artists. I mean, there's still a lot of painters, and they do nothing else to go in the market studio and they paint, and they put their world from inside on the canvas. And then artists like me, they travel around the world. For me, it was I often think I wish I could be a painter, because often, especially when I get older and I'm more settled in New York City, it's sometimes a pain in the ass to travel a lot. And I wish sometimes I could go to the studio and just paint for 8 hours. But obviously, I was always interested. Maybe also that's why I studied photography. I was also interested to work with people, to go out in the world and take something back. So that's probably something I do like. And
for example, if you just go to travel, do you find that totally different than just going in as an artist?
I don't do it, and I don't go to travel. I mean, that's the nightmare for me. To be a tourist, I hate.
Right.
I do hate it.
You have sort of, again, it's like, it's not, I'm not inventing anything, right? It's part of the discourse on contemporary art, which kind of, again, because of this phenomenon of artists going around and kind of producing work in different places, also trying to kind of reflect a certain culture or reflect on a certain culture, or, you know.
Yes.
And there's also this famous essay that Joseph Kossuth wrote in 75 that kind of he defines the artist as a kind of an engaged anthropologist, saying that like anthropologists have like a distance and then artists don't, like they kind of mix into their, you know.
It's a big question if anthropologists have distance. I mean, what human being has possibly distance to what he talks about, or she talks about. We all have a certain frameworks, if they're academic frameworks, we work with, or like artistic. Sure, in my case I can say I'm definitely not a specialist. I mean, I come here and make a photo of the Western Wall. I have no fucking idea about the Western Wall, I just know it's the most holy wall on the planet. And that's for me enough information to do something. So an artist has maybe a little bit a more easy way to do things. It doesn't have to be really very correct.
But you are, right, but you are somehow trying to represent, maybe society is a big word, but maybe culture, you know, human culture in some way, which is very close to how, you know, an anthropologist would see his or her work, no?
I don't know, because I don't have a big mission. I mean, the only mission is I get up in the morning, I look in this world and say, oh yeah, great, why I'm here, what is it? And then as an artist I do works about that moment, my inspiration, and then I think I tell a story what I think maybe people can understand. But I don't have that idea of I want to do something for the humanity or the culture. I want to be an important part of that.
So it's not really a research.
It's not a research.
Or is it?
Well, it is actually a big research because I'm a 44 years old man and I sucked in information like fucking crazy my whole life.
Right.
So in that brain of mine, maybe something kind of stayed back, and when I speak about the Western Wall, I know that was since I'm a child, maybe not very close, but I know about it. So these stories I can tell, I can speak about stuff in a very distant way, but maybe with the hope that how I speak about things, other people can read it because they're also distant. And in our time where we have inflation of information, where the world is a very colorful place with a lot of information, I think a lot of people have only a tiny little bit information about something and they try to do something with it.
Right.
I guess that's what I do with my art. I have a little hint of something and then I jump into it.
But that's also deliberate, right? Like you told me before that that you deliberately don't read so much about the place you're going to, or you don't really, or wasn't true?
No, that was maybe Israel.
Okay, specifically.
Israel, because I mean Israel I know since I'm since I'm a kid I hear stories about it, and since the beginning it's a confusing place for me. It's not, and then I thought I don't want to before I came I thought okay I should really know, especially after last summer I thought I should really read about it and I should know what the situation is, who is now, but I did not do it because I don't want to. I thought I don't want to be political, I guess. Just don't want to be political. I want to be an artist who has the freedom to talk about maybe not that urgent things, not so political things.
But you still came to the Western Wall, so that's a very...
Yeah,
you know that it's very politically charged, right? No, I mean it's...
Sure, but for me still it's just the most famous wall in the world, so that's for me enough. I don't need any more information about it. Because I don't want to do something what... When I would want to make politics, I would be a politician.
No, yeah. I think there's a difference between doing political work in terms of, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know, that's just my feeling, but there is a difference between doing like political work in terms of having a clear statement or a clear view of stuff and wanting to send a specific message, and doing political work in a sense that you know, find yourself involved in political situations or charged, you know, cultural situations, which you do, I think, a lot. I don't know, at least, you know, from what I've seen,
right.
Which is, you can't say that it's, you know, totally apolitical.
No, it's not apolitical, but what I want to say, I think my understanding of political issues or the world is kind of more in a simple way that I think I do not like, I go to a show like a white tube, I see like a room is vitrines in the room, and an artist just puts like some notes in there, like the whole room is full of notes, and it's about the situation, let's say, about the woman in Iraq. And then you think like, oh really, I mean it's so heavy, it is so political, it's so, yeah. But you know, finally the art world I think is for me, that's why I want to do stuff like that, where it's just like, okay, the humor is important, the entertainment is important. I just don't want to go that way, that I would do something where I try to be very serious, but then finally I end up in the entertainment world of art. So, guilty as charged. That's again a work where I would say some people take it more serious. I was invited to a show in Dubai in a gallery. Also that I knew I want to go there, and I thought it's cool to do something specific for the place. So I've been thinking about, okay, Dubai, Middle East, I know what the Emirates are, like blah blah. So do I really want to make a work about anything serious? And so the only thing I know since I'm a child is there is sand, there are camels, and the women, they have to kind of, when they're very they have to wear these strange clothes that's, you know, kind of a costume to be dressed in a certain way. So I thought I make a camel woman. And so actually when you go further, there's also men in there.
Yes.
This one, yeah. And that was such a simple idea, and then I did it, and maybe sometimes you can call me naive, that could be. So I did the work, and then when I finished the work, before I went to Dubai, I said to my wife, oh really, I mean, do I get in trouble down there? I mean, maybe they're not so open for these things. So I went to Dubai, the opening, and I was surprised. I was really surprised. No one would say anything. All had fun just to look at it, and I think that's maybe one side of my work. My work always, hopefully, manages to be not so serious that people get upset about something. And I still love these works. But I don't know if I would say something very important about the Arabic culture or about Dubai.
Right.
But it really it fit very well into it, definitely.
So that's where you're using like cultural cliches.
Cliches, yeah. I was always, I mean, I did like my early works been cliches of horror movies, been cliches of pop culture. Maybe I like to use cliches. Yes.
They're always true.
They're always,
that's what they say.
No, they're always like the emojis. They're just here. Yeah. They're just here. This, I mean, that is that video. Maybe when some of you watched the video out there, I made this dance scene, very unprofessional dance scene. I remember I had these 3 dancers. They told me they're good dancers, but they could not dance at all. So I created these shirts for them for the dance scene, and after I published the catalog and the monography of my work, 2001 or something, and the fashion designer, one of the most, I think, for me, creative fashion designer I know, his name is Wilhelm, and he's in Paris, now I guess in LA. He's a crazy fashion designer. I mean, I could not wear his clothes, but he's very creative. So he would see that in the catalog, and he would copy these hoodies stitch by stitch. And then a lot of people would say, oh, do you work with Bernhard? And I said, Bernhard, who have no idea who it is. So then he called me, probably he got a fire on his ass. Right. And then we became friends, and we made collaborations. Maybe when we go a little bit up, we did t-shirts. and up there maybe, yeah, no t-shirt. This one is for the musician back. Yeah, these bags and stuff. So we did films together. I did a fashion show for him. He's actually home. One, the bit that seems the ghosts. That's he did the ghosts.
Okay.
So we collaborated.
He designed stuff for your movies.
Yes,
Yeah.
like a funny fashion show for him with the ghosts. And, that was the beginning of a kind of where I realized as an artist, I mean, creativity is a big thing, and the world is creative today. I mean, musicians, fashion designers, architects, it's all kind of, we share all the same thing. And I think when I find someone in another area who does something I'm impressed, I'm really happy to work with.
I wanted to ask about the video that we watched. I was curious about the fact that it was 12 years ago, right?
Yep.
And I noticed that there were like, the guy was with tattoos, kind of like tattoos, but he had like smileys and stuff. So it was like the emojis met you.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So there was actually like hints of that. So is it something that you were like, was on your mind all the time because you chose those faces there as well? So I'm curious about if it was just a coincidence for you or it's something that you were like interested, you know?
Yeah. You know, that's these things are, always think that's an artist language has certain repetitions, they always come back. I mean, I used a lot of cars, don't ask why, I use a lot of, and maybe I'm attracted to the tattoos there, that we know like crocodiles or tigers, and that's the same like the emojis. So it's difficult to say. I never thought about it. Now doing this emoji work, I never thought about this work. So for me, it doesn't necessarily be a relationship, but I guess there is like a network of similar things coming up all the time, and I think I always think I would have to go to a shrink to really figure out why I do certain things. But it's funny. But see, that's also like something I do love. Being someone who does many different works, I like to have hear certain interpretation about it. Now that's a connection I never made. Now I made it. I bring the emojis back to these tattoos. But by the way, there was me there in the video. Very bad acting.
It was you?
Yeah, very bad acting.
Is that
Yeah. So, and I remember we put these tattoos on. They've been sticker tattoos in Utah in the desert, and it took really literally 5 days until they came off. So I was like, they would always fall apart more, it looked more fucked up. So it's really like, people would look at me like, wow. Yeah. So now, yeah. But I don't think that, but thank you for the connection.
So most of your photography, or even all of your photography, is stage photography, or in some way, somehow it's like stage photography. So I wanted to ask, like, do you, obviously you purposely gave up, just doing something that's more immediate or documentary or something like that. Might be a reason for that choice. Because you photograph all the time. I've seen you with your camera. You do make like tons of photographs a day,
Yes.
which are much more spontaneous. But then with the works, it's always constructed and it's always.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's two different things. I mean, this one is just for my personal use. When I finish here, we make a folder. We've written Israel 2014. I'll probably never watch it until maybe 40 years. I'm an old man. So I'm in a wheelchair or whatever, and I sit there and make an endless slideshow of my life. And then I probably see you in the photos. Oh, that was Leah. So that's more why I do these photos. The other things are sure. I mean, these ones are more concepts, and then I use also professional cameras for that. Like you can see on the wall, actually, I demanded from the guys here that they organize me a good camera. And I guess you didn't really understood what that means, but now when you see the photo, you really see the sharpness. And so I think that is a difference. But I mean, I photograph since I'm 16 years old. My father gave me a camera, and I started really traditional, like black and white street photography. And there would be more like that. I would photograph. I would go to Paris and photograph and develop the photos. But then the last 20 years, I would say, it's more like an idea and then staging.
And who do you normally use for model? You use models a lot, right?
Yes.
So who would you normally use? Is it like friends or professional models, or?
They're all more or less friends, yeah.
Do you know what is going to be your next project?
That's a good question. Because I start to sweat when you ask me that now, because I don't know. That's the problem. I have a show next year at the gallery in New York, and that's in June, what seems to be long, but I want to make a big new work, and I really have to come up with a new idea. And I'm a little bit panicked. But then on the other hand, there are also projects, and I do sculptures I have to work on. I know there what I want to do. But the challenge is always to do something new, and I think, you know, that's maybe something I'm happy about it, that I'm an artist like that, but I'm often also like a little bit, it's harder when you always try to do something new. There are some artist friends of me, they do more or less always the same. They do it in green, in yellow, and in orange, but it's the same thing, and they can survive with it, and they can do it. In my case, I think I punished myself already last 15 years to always try to do new things and do many different things. I guess that has to continue somehow. Yeah.
Are you interested in doing new things that you have never done or that anyone else has ever done? Do you think novelty is something that really pushes your work forward, or is it?
Yeah. Look, I mean, for sure, for myself, I do mostly things for myself. I want to renew myself. That's number one of my motivation. The other thing, I still have a fantasy about it, yes, because what I do think is until the 80s or 90s, there have been artists that could produce pioneer works. You know, they would, like, for example, Cindy Sherman in the 70s, 80s. She was the first one who did the self-portraits. Or, I don't know, Douglas Gordon was the first one who made like slow motion movies. Or you can name a lot of artists. They did something. When they did it, they wrote art history right away. So it was something. It was possible because art was in last century a development of, you know, like you could follow a line of where it's going. Today, I believe the last 10 years, like in other areas like music or fashion, it's completely a lost space. So mostly thing you see today, you think, oh yeah, it's great, but 1 second, someone did something similar in the 80s or 70s. So it's always that it's great, but it's like, that it's like moment is today just in our face. Not because there's a lot around, because also we have the archive of the internet. So whenever you have an idea, you go in the internet and someone did it in a way already. So for me, that fantasy still remains to do something what is a kind of pioneer work again. But I'm not sure if I can do it. You know, I believe that art can be challenging in a futuristic direction, and I don't give up the hope. And I hate it when I see a lot of artists who really just jump on a very stereotypic contemporary art train and just do their thing in there. I don't like it. I still believe the artist has in itself the freedom to kind of try it.
I'm curious about your relation to design.
Yeah.
When you use design, how do you manage, what is I'm interested in your attitude and towards it, and how do you manage to, if at all, to keep a separation between art and design?
I mean, design, you mean specifically?
As a language.
Yes. But I mean, design could be in furniture design, could be in fashion design. What specific design you talk about? Like?
No, in general, like the design attitude,
yeah.
in relation to the art attitude, or if you think there is a difference, I don't know.
Okay, yeah. I know what you maybe mean. I think the design attitude maybe is not immediately as bigger. I mean, like let's say fashion or architecture. It has to make, in a way, a sense, even when it sometimes doesn't make sense, especially fashion. I see that the runway thing, they have clothes no one can wear. But I guess art is there free and it has its own design thing. But I often think that's why I probably look often outside of art, because I'm attracted to these other languages. I think they're often stronger and more direct than art is. At the moment, I think really at the moment, since the last few years, it's very looking in itself. It's all art referential. It's all like, it seems like that small island of art, even when it grows, it doesn't look outside anymore. It's just like it's just like that small group of people like slapping each other on the shoulder non-stop. That is a reason why I really do like to look outside. And I don't mean that now in a negative thing. I mean that's still in that art world there are great art productions happening. But for me always, I don't know where I am. I mean maybe I'm more in but I like that moment, that float as an artist. And maybe it's creativity today, but it's like the main thing. Because think about today, we are all very creative and we have Instagram. I went to a photo university for 5 years to learn how to make intelligent photographs. Today, like each person, never an education in photography, makes the most beautiful Instagram photos because we learn the language, how to. So creativity is not a form today for me. And I often think, as an artist, I rather look outside of contemporary art. It's way more interesting than to look inside, because in there, for me personally, 80%, there's not so much happening. Besides, a big like wave. But then it said that, I mean, also the contemporary art is a very colorful place today. I mean, there's so many different things happening. But I maybe just more, because when I started to do art, it was the time where art seemed to look really into the world. They would look to MTV video clips to try to open up, and that's maybe the attitude I have. And I sometimes get just panicked when I see, my friends who are just very like, and I maybe don't understand the vocabulary, and I feel like, oh shit. And then I find my thing. I find my way then in the powerful language of the internet. I mean, this photo I found online, and I redid it, more or less. But then I think I do it like a million other people too. I mean, they watch YouTube and they're interested. So I don't also want to be disconnected from the common guy. I don't want to become just going in the small art bubble and like. I always try to get out of there. I love the bubble very much because the people are cool and
And?
No, it's
What
like,
else?
it sounds now very negative. I'm sorry. It's like I don't mean to say something bad about the art world, but I think my work speaks for it. That I guess I always try to get out there, like to break away from it. But then I don't want to be an advertising guy, neither. I don't want to work, commercial. So far I found my spot.
I mean, there is something in design, maybe in the language of design, that you take something and you just redo it, and you redo it differently. And in a way, in art, you sometimes, let's say you find doors that weren't there before, you found them. So how do you use sometimes tools in designs and of design and still like find these new places?
Well, I think it's the inspiring moment. I mean, I look different designs. I mean, and then I'm inspired about. There's I have different web pages on my computer. For example, one is called Design Boom. They have the newest design ideas, and I like so much. I look at that. I look at Contemporary Art Daily. That's not an art blog. So I do like to have different inputs, and I just like when someone has a great idea, I guess. And like I said today, I guess it's not there anymore. Maybe 50 years ago, art had really that moment that art was the creative people being in art, but today the creative people, they are all over, not only in art.
Yeah.
The artists, I have just a feeling what I said before, artists became more a kind of their own entity in itself, something undisturbable, nothing to do with the world, besides the art fairs. But there you have, for example, other art. You have just like nice, colorful paintings on the wall you can sell for the rich people who don't know anything about art. So it's I guess it's a complex situation of at the moment I think shifting of things. But I don't know where it leads. But I hope art, not I hope, but I think art will be replaced with something else soon. Not soon, maybe next 10, 20, 30 years. That it loses that momentum of being something really special, very important, that is just not the case anymore. Because it's just not it. That's not very negative, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But that's just my sense of things.
I mean, it's not negative at all.
It's a little bit neat. I
Some
mean,
people look forward to
it's
it.
like would like stay my own boat, like make holes in my own boat.
You'll find your way, even when
Yeah, I
others
will
do.
find a way.